Welcome to the Financial Advisors Growth Podcast, where we sit down with leaders who are shaping the future of financial advice and technology. I'm your host, Ali Jamal, CEO of Pocket Risk. Today, we are diving into a topic that every financial advisor cares about. It is trust. How do you build it? How do you use it to attract clients? And how can advisors truly thrive in a digital first world? Joining me is Jason Heath, CFP Managing Director at Objective Financial Partners. Jason is one of the Canada's best known fee-only financial planners. He has been featured in the Financial Post, Money Sense, and more. At Objective, he and his teams focus entirely on unbiased, advice-only financial planning without selling investment products. Jason, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Ali, thanks for having me.
Okay. So, Jason, let's start with your journey. You have built a reputation as one of Canada's most trusted financial planners. Can you share a bit about your background and the story behind Objective Financial Planner?
For sure.
Partner, sorry.
So, it depends how far back you want to go, but if I go back to sort of before my career got started, when I applied to university, I didn't really know what I wanted to study. I was really interested in acting. Actually, I ended up applying to do a theater program of all things, and I was there for maybe a week, and I realized that the other people in the program loved theater. They loved acting. I liked it, but it wasn't a career for me. And I did a pretty significant pivot. I ended up switching into economics. I always liked math and analysis, and before I graduated, I got a job at a bank. And the banking industry here in Canada, Ali, controls most of the financial services market. We've got six big banks here, which differs a lot from the US market or the UK. And I was at my mother's house actually, and I picked up the local newspaper one day. And for young people who don't really remember, I mean, you and I would remember this, but there used to be a classified section of the newspaper, and you'd flip through and you'd see jobs and employers that were hiring. And I got a job at a local fee-only financial planning firm, not really understanding what fee-only was. And I worked there for nearly 10 years and I learned a lot. It really helped me. I enjoyed my time there, but it was before work from home was really a thing. And it was a very traditional sort of old-fashioned, I guess you could say, company where I couldn't get the flexibility that I needed as a young father. So I had no choice but to start my own company. And I've been really, really lucky with my work in the media. It's helped our firm grow. We're now a team of 20. So I can say in all honesty, I didn't get to this point on purpose. I picked up a newspaper one day. I ended up stumbling upon this fee-only, advice-only industry that I've come to love. Of accidents.
Right. So that's really interesting. And for listeners who might not be familiar with the difference, what makes the fee-only, advice-only model different from what many other advisors offer in the market?
So, it's not a very common type of practice globally, and certainly not here in Canada. Like, there's been a big move to fee-based, charging a percentage of assets to manage an investment portfolio as opposed to the old sort of commission structure. But basically, we provide financial planning advice and we don't commingle any products. So we don't manage investments, we don't sell insurance, we literally just provide advice. And we're not even affiliated with any investment or insurance firms either. So we don't refer our clients to a particular source and then get a referral fee or commissions or anything. We're literally paid exclusively by our clients with flat project fees, annual fees, or in some cases hourly fees, the same way a lawyer or an accountant might work. And everything is very transparent, so we really are forced to provide value. Our advice ranges from retirement to tax to estate to insurance to budgeting to whatever. And we've even started providing divorce financial services, helping couples going through a divorce to divide their assets in a tax effective way. We've got an accounting practice, so we do a lot of tax preparation and provide tax advice. And here in Canada, there might only be 150 or 175 people who practiced this way,
Right.
and we're now probably the largest and best known advice only financial planning firm in the country.
Right. Okay, so you have seen the industry evolve over the years. Every advisor say they put clients first, but clients often struggle to see what's real and what's marketing. If someone asked you, Jason, why should I choose Objective Financial Partners over another firm? What would you say?
Well, look, I'll say I personally believe that most people in the industry do put clients first. There's obviously conflicts of interest out there, though, regardless. I just love that we don't have to go out of our way to instill that belief in a client. Our business model means we sit on the same side of the table as our client. We're not trying to get them to choose, what's behind door number one or door number two because we don't have an axe to grind, and we're not motivated to do anything other than provide ongoing value so that we can develop an ongoing relationship. There's some
Right,
people who just hire us once and, buy a quote unquote plan. Ideally, we want to provide ongoing planning. And if we're not providing value, if they don't like us, they're not going to pay us, they're not going to meet with us. So, I've got a lot of clients that I've worked with for 20 years, and I may well retire myself, and they may still be working with somebody at our firm. I mean, certainly that would be the goal, and that would be a sign of our success.
right. Okay. So now let's talk about trust. In the old days, trust was built across the desk over a handshake, maybe a community event. Today, many clients' relationship begin with a Google search, a blog article, or even a Zoom call.
Mhm.
How do you build trust when the first impression often isn't face to face anymore?
It's funny because we, we've always had clients who lived in other parts of Canada. Just Canada's a really big country geographically, although has a small population, and there's not a lot of people who do what we do. So I can remember going back probably almost 20 years at this point, working with a client from Vancouver, which is, a 5 hour flight from where I am in the Greater Toronto area. And she was living and working in Pakistan. She worked for a relief organization in Islamabad after there was a big earthquake, and we would meet on Skype before that was really common. And now, we work with 99% of our clients remotely. We don't do a lot of in-office meetings, and we've got employees and clients all over Canada and abroad. I think what's really helped me and is a lesson for others out there, I've written, nearly 1,000 articles in my career, and I've certainly done hundreds, if not over 1,000 interviews as well. And that helps build credibility for sure. It's a
Mm,
way for people to get to know you even before they've met you.
mm,
And now I think it's even easier to, have a blog, to have a podcast, to get out
mm,
there and have a digital footprint. And I think it helps build trust.
mm,
And now, especially with AI, which I know is something we'll talk about later,
mm.
um, there's even more of a reason to have a footprint because
Right.
AI is searching the internet and looking for credibility
Mm.
about you or about your role within a particular industry.
Right. And I imagine that the fee only model adds another layer of credibility when clients realize you're not trying to sell them a financial product.
It
Does
helps for
that
sure.
accelerate the trust building process?
Yeah, I think it does. And and it's not to say that somebody who is selling products can't instill that same sense of trust. But certainly for us, it's helpful because people are becoming a lot more aware here in Canada that there's a relatively low standard for advisors. We've got more of a suitability standard as opposed to a fiduciary obligation for most advisors here. So if something is suitable, you can recommend it. There have been class action lawsuits. There have been exposés on inappropriate sales practices and things like that that just degrade trust. And unfortunately, I think it's really bad for the industry. I'll be honest, if I'm at a cocktail party or something and somebody asks, oh, Jason, what do you do? As soon as I say I'm a financial planner, they think I'm going to try to sell them an insurance policy or something. I hate telling people what I do. It's a conversation killer. Or maybe they want to talk about a stock tip or something, because for most people, financial planning is just investing, but there's so much more. And most people have never really engaged in actual professional financial planning, and that's what I would consider to be the services that we provide. So I hope that continues to prevail throughout the industry, and the industry itself can do a better job of instilling trust with the public.
Right. Okay. So let's pivot into client acquisition. 10 or 15 years ago, referrals were the king, but today, prospective clients are much more likely to start their journey online. They are
Mhm.
researching, comparing, and reading reviews before even picking up the phone. How has your firm embraced the digital shift? What channels like article, podcast, or webinars have helped you attract the right kind of clients?
Well, I mean, certainly invites to be on podcasts like this, lots of stuff that I've done in the media, but it's been mostly unintentional to be honest for us. I've been really lucky with the media and writing opportunities in particular, and I enjoy writing. Not everyone enjoys writing.
Mm,
So that can be difficult. If you don't enjoy writing, you need to find other ways to do things. But I have a lot of journalists who've interviewed me regularly over the years. When people Google financial planning stuff, my name usually comes up because I've probably written an article on the topic. And now I'm trying to get my team out there a little bit more, and seeing their names in interviews. But even going on a podcast like this isn't for everybody. And if it's not for you, it might be the sort of thing you need to practice and work on so that you can try to find a new way to get out there and get your name out there and instill trust. And we've just started now to do some proactive marketing. We're working on some video content, and that's the other thing. You can create video content by yourself, in your basement, just hitting record and be out there, even if you're not the kind to go and, deliver a presentation in front of an audience. There's a way for you to have an audience and deliver your message, from the comfort of your own home.
Okay, so and once someone finds you online, whether through an article or a webinar or through a podcast, what step do you take to make the engagement approachable? Because I think a lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of people find financial planning intimidating.
Mhm.
How do you make the process feel simple?
I think one thing I know I've worked on a lot with my messaging is language, trying to use, language that a lay person would understand rather than being technical. And you can do that intentionally, but technology has really helped. Prospective clients can book a meeting directly from our website. It integrates with our team's calendar and our CRM. We're building out processes that makes things automatic. Most people I think are comfortable with Zoom and similar platforms these days, and that
Mm,
really helps expand your market. And our financial planners are all very professional, but
mm,
I've intentionally built a team who is sort of like me, in that we're down to earth, we're approachable.
mm,
Financial advisors have long had this reputation of being sort of polished and fancy and marble floors and fancy paintings on the wall, and that's just not us.
mm,
We're just normal people working with normal clients, and lots of them happen to be successful, wealthy professionals and business owners, but we've got no minimum net worth or investments or minimum income or anything like that, so we can work really with anyone everywhere. And I hope that all of our messaging through our website and other stuff we put out there works to attract our ideal client. So I think it's important to find that ideal client, that avatar, so to speak, and sort of trying to speak to them through everything that you do.
Right. Okay. So now I would love to shift to the tools that power your practice. So
Mm.
financial advisors today have an incredible toolbox, client portals, video conferencing, risk profiling tools, financial planning softwares. From your perspective, what digital tools have been most effective in delivering a great client experience?
Look, Zoom for sure. I mean, we're recording this on Zoom right now, and we actually use Zoom primarily for working with clients, although we do use Teams internally a little bit. I think if you've got a good camera and microphone, you can make it feel like you're right there with a client. Financial planning software and other software tools that can help you to show things visually, I think are really important. And
Mm.
back in the olden days, you'd sit there in a boardroom and, you'd probably have a screen and bring up stuff that you would show a client, but it's different, I think, when you're speaking over the computer. Like there's no distractions, there's no, air conditioner, there's no window and somebody walking by outside. You're literally just looking at a screen. And I think the combination of visual and verbal can really help. Beyond that, I mean, CRM and file sharing and other tools definitely, but I think it's the planner client experience. And if you can find the best way to have an online meeting and make it really, really enjoyable, prospect's going to want to work with you, a client's going to want to continue to work with you, and I think you can be really successful.
Right. Okay. So, of course, with every innovation comes challenges. Going digital creates efficiency, but it also raises questions: data privacy, compliance, even the human element of connection. What's been the hardest part for you in making the shift to a digital first practice?
Yeah. I think the hardest thing for the shift has been concerns about security. There's lots of really good tools out there, and I think that's great. We're really worried about security, so that's something that keeps us up at night. But I think it's the volume of technology too. We've had to test so many different applications, and we've switched so many over the years, and some do multiple things. And then you've got to decide, do you want to use one to replace something else? And I don't think you can be stagnant. I think even if you have a great tool, you have to always be reevaluating, making sure it's the right fit for your practice. So it's hard, I think, the volume of stuff that is out there.
Right. And then there is a hot topic, AI. It's a
Mm.
topic on everyone's mind, and some people see it as a threat, others as a huge opportunity. From where you sit, how do you see AI shaping the future of financial advisory? Will it disrupt or will it empower advisors? What are your thought process?
I think a little bit of both, Ali. I mean, there's an older demographic that I think will not take as well to getting financial advice from an AI language model. So I think there's probably always going to be demand for human financial advisors for many years to come. I'm biased though, of course. I think there are potential clients who are underserved as well. Maybe they don't meet a certain investment minimum for a portfolio manager, or the fees to work with an advice-only financial planner like me are too high, for example. And I think that human financial advisors using AI may be able to service them, or just service more clients generally with some of the efficiencies that AI can create. But I think at the same time, it would be naive to think that some consumers, especially young people who are growing up with AI, won't gravitate to it. Some young people may never work with a human advisor, but I know when I've tested AI for advice for myself, I can see there's definite gaps. It misses subtleties, it makes mistakes. It's I think in part because the internet is flooded with questionable advice, but at the same time, the same questionable advice can come from human advisors. So
Hmm.
I think one thing I can say in favor of AI is that it can be trained to avoid conflicts of interest that humans can succumb to. And I think it will probably just keep getting better and better. So I see it as enhancing the advice that human advisors provide, replacing them in some capacities. But there's a lot of people who don't work with financial advisors that it's a huge market out there.
So personally, are you going to induct AI powered solution in your practice?
We've started just very minimally, and it's been mostly automation through our CRM. Some of the
Right.
stuff that we have used, Microsoft Copilot, for example, like there's ways that you can use it to do research and maybe help move your ideas along, for example. But we're using it in a very light way. Some of the financial planning software we use is integrating AI in different ways, and it's still imperfect too. But I'm really interested to see 5 years from now. I don't think that anyone can ignore AI, consumer or advisor.
Right. Okay. So, Jason, you had a remarkable career in the industry. Looking back, what's one lesson you would like to share with other advisors who want to not only survive, but thrive in this changing landscape?
So I started my firm almost over 13 years ago. And there's a lot of things that I did many years ago when I was grinding and just getting started. And at the time, they didn't seem really beneficial. It was at a time when I was really just trying to figure out how to pay my mortgage. You're doing these things and they're not leading to business, they're not leading to revenue. But looking back in some cases, 5 or even 10 years later, they paid off. And so I think there's a lot of seeds that you plant early in your career that might not seem that important while you're doing it, but they will be eventually if you're patient. And I think if you do good things for people, whether clients or colleagues or whoever, it all comes back to you. So I think just do the right thing because it's a small world and don't get discouraged because things you're doing today will help you in the future.
Right. So this has been a fascinating discussion. We have touched on everything from the importance of trust to client acquisition in the digital era to how AI is reshaping the advisory business. For our listeners, if you would like to learn more about Jason's firm, you can visit objectivecfp.com. There you will find helpful resources and ways to connect directly with Jason and his team. Jason, thank you again for joining us today.
Ali, thanks for having me.
And to everyone tuning in, thank you for listening to the Pocket Risk Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, LinkedIn, or your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, I'm Ali Jamal. See you soon.